Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fielka. Today is September 13, 2022. We want to thank Rob Grant and this amazing podcast. I'm probably wrong about everything. It's sure an honor and a pleasure to be here with Stephen J. Kalinich. Is that correct way to pronounce it?
That is right, my friend. You're the first one, well, one of the first ones that pronounced it right.
Stevie, what a pleasure. Where in the heck are you calling in from?
I'm from down the street from you in Los Angeles, in Beverly Hills area of California.
How cool is that? The first question is, what's the best thing for a human being?
The best thing for a human being is to learn the stillness.
To learn the stillness is such a unique answer. I've never had that. Let's just go into that for a second. What's the roots of you knowing that is the best thing? Because it resonates with me completely. But did you learn that from the way your parents raised you or on your own?
I came on my own, but I did find out from the Bible what be still and know that I am God inspired me. But I came up with my own meditation and my own philosophy off Be Still. As you know, I wrote my second Beach Boys song was Be Still, but it came from Be Still and Know That I Am God. That's where I got that idea.
Beautiful. What's your favorite form of information? How it comes into you?
Usually the thing I like the most is direct speaking with people about their problems, their issues, but not everyone. I get a certain a resonance, a vibe, a practice that I have of how to listen.
That is beautiful. We call that direct experience. And so, why do you think humans collect and gather information?
I think there's different reasons. Some are so they can make a living off of it. Others are really genuinely interested, maybe to learn about the world. And others want to know if there's something to learn, maybe to have a more effective, joyous life for themselves.
Beautiful. You are such a wordsmith. I'm really honored to have you here. So, Stevie, is this need or want to collect information more innate in humans or more invented?
I think it's more inventive because I think that we don't need the information. It's an attempt, seeking information is an attempt to find out some fact or something that may be truth or what is truth. It probably goes all the way back to even before Plato and the Republic, and all those different people were trying to search for the meaning, whether it's Socrates or whoever, or through characters. But an attempt to gather information is to what do you really want to gather is to know yourself and your connection to all living beings and all animals and all creatures. Is there a connection, and how would you do it? I think that's a basic thing. But I think we can shut off to that too.
Yeah. Do thoughts create emotions?
Emotions create thoughts, and thoughts can just generate and spring up anytime.
Yeah.
Process that.
Process that. That's good. Is thinking more innate or more invented?
Invented. Thinking, when he said, I think, therefore I am, I'm not so sure. I think I experience, and experience precedes all of it. Even if you're not able to articulate your feeling, you're in the womb, you're getting that tube, that's experience. But you haven't learned, so you have experience before you have the ability to articulate what that experience was.
Key word, direct experience. I love this. Fill in the blank, Stevie. I don't know what I think until I
process it.
Wow. What's another word for process?
Another word for process is immediately grasp its essence or have to think about it to come up with the answer. And therefore, stillness is what I end up resolving, and out of the stillness pops the answer. most of the time. What do you
Can
think?
What do I think? You're flipping it to me. Yeah.
I'm just
I
not,
think,
that's how I am.
no, I think thinking, yeah, that's a hard one. I think we want to think in general that thinking is innate in humans, but I would say it's kind of invented because,
I agree.
yeah, it is like one of my friends, we do this on everything. Is it more innate or more invented? He says everything's invented. But I'll tell you one thing, eating food is probably innate, but there's so many ways to eat food. And there's these people who are called breatharians. So
I know
who knows?
about breatharians, and also I know of the people that just eat lemon juice, and the saints and the monks that have done that. Yes, I'm aware
Yeah.
of it. But I think that you're onto something that's true, because I think that we are directly connected to the divine, and we've shut off the information lines, and we seeking these lines to see how do we reestablish. But the only way we can reestablish is to find we are within everything, and everything is within us, like George Harrison said, within you and without you.
Nice. Yeah, that's amazing because it's like, anyways, we're moving forward in it like a we're moving forward like a train that's still. We're
Out
like,
of stillness rises all motion. I'm just making out of the stillness rises every possibility. Music without the stillness would not exist. You need the rest between the notes. Music
that's it.
comes first, and out of that, and everything goes back to the stillness.
Totally. That's why
Stillness,
Thelonious
and then I would say, from my viewpoint, that stillness is the greatest motion.
is the greatest motion. Yeah, because that's it totally resonates with Thelonious Monk. He says silence is the loudest yet sound in the universe.
Yes. Well, I would say yes, but what I'm saying is the silence that we can never be aware of before we are aware of silence. That's the one, but we can't do that one directly.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to have about 800 epiphanies, so I'm very fortunate to be here. Stevie, can humans think without language?
Yes. I think if we didn't develop language, we could, like our ancestors could instantly communicate with each other. Words, I don't think were a necessary path on the evolutionary communication scale. They evolved.
Yeah, because
That way
Chomsky,
we could pass human information, but the real essentials that we are one with the divine of all the universe, that all beings are part of one massive, beautiful consciousness that may not be a being as we know a being, but is the source of all, or the end of all, and we come out of it, go into it, and that's what there is, and that's what we're searching for. But we're searching for ourselves.
yeah. Well, Chomsky says a language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is.
Yes.
What do you do when language doesn't work, when language breaks down?
I listen, feel, and try to find bliss or joy.
Yeah. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
I more pursue joy rather than happiness.
Right.
But I deal a lot. I did a whole album called The Meaning with Adam Marsland. I don't know if you ever saw that. The Meaning. It's a whole album. You can look it up online. You might even be able to get it for free. If not, I can send you one maybe on the line.
But Stevie, let's stay on that for a second. What's the difference between joy and happiness? Because I gave you happiness and meaning, then you split it up to joy. What's the difference between joy and happiness?
Happiness can come from something you've achieved, maybe temporary, but lasting joy can only come from rise up within you. In other words, it's not determined by you. Have something, all of a sudden they give you a great award and you're happy. But joy comes from within. It rises up and you feel content. You go in the murmur of all existence. You become one with the universe, the universal heartbeat. You can feel it pumping through your bloodstream, energy to every cell that you have in this body.
Wow, because My choices were happiness and meaning, and I got the question from Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, and
I
he
love
said,
that book.
yeah, he says that happiness isn't necessarily lasting, but meaning is.
And joy, yeah. But joy is harder to come by. Meaning, that's the title of my poem. So I'm very interested. It's called The Meaning. You know,
Yeah, that's good. Okay,
The Meaning of Existence is the exact title.
the meaning of existence. Great. And
Adam
so
Marsland was my partner on that one.
beautiful. So I know it's both, and it's a stupid question, but your observations of humans in general, are we more feeling beings or more thinking beings?
I think we more go by our feelings, but I think we need to balance the both.
Yeah. We need to balance it. How do we do that?
One way is to seek stillness, whether you call
Yeah.
it meditation,
Yeah.
or to seek the stillness. But I think when you are content and you feel a joy kind of content, that those moments don't last in this human side. But I think it's like there's no other feeling like it. Why
Yeah.
did he wrote Ode to Joy? Why was that the name? Why not Ode to Happiness? Ode to Meaning, Ode to Joy. I think there was something in that.
Good choice. Good song title. So these are two questions from Alan Turing in the 50s. Is thinking a function of the soul?
Thinking comes from searching about the soul, but I do not think thinking itself comes from the soul, but it could be that other side of consciousness that is within you searching for itself. So it's possible that I don't have quite all the pieces of that chessboard.
But you anticipate a question that's coming up in a second. You must have ESP. But the second Turing question first is, can machines think?
They can do processing, but I don't think that they can think. I think that if we create a machine that does think, that it'd be hard to put a soul in it. I think
Really?
we need the soul, the heart, the joy element. So when we listen, we don't just listen like real serious, like these people, we listen with anticipation of joy.
Yeah.
Oh, how beautiful the sadness. That's why when I wrote Be Still for the Beach Boys, you know you are, be still and know you are. Now is the time life begins. Take that simple path and love will set you free. That's why I said that. Don't go looking for complicated things as the answer. Think you're smart because you come all these theories. The simpleness of joy is the miracle. It's the brilliance of life. The great seekers sometimes have seeked too much instead of being still and listening and letting it rise out of their experience.
Really wise words, my friend. I appreciate that. So now is the time is a title of a Charlie Parker song,
Yes.
and Yard. Then Baba Ram Das said, "Be here now." Was the Charlie Parker phrase in the air when you said "now is the time," or where did you get those four
Well,
words?
I love jazz. I think it was inspired by that. What I told you, be still and know that I'm God, in the Bible. I think
Yeah,
that one, and also it just came from remembering when I was 4 years old or 6 months crawling. Little vague memories of that, being in my crib, falling off a little rock in Philadelphia when I was 2. I remember some of those.
yeah. Jeepers creepers. We're gonna you just answered a question that comes up about 5 minutes, but we'll get to it. Stevie, does the brain more detect consciousness or create consciousness? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're detecting it, or are we actually creating it?
I think the part that we think we create is false consciousness. And the truth of real consciousness wipes away, like when you wash the dirt off your car, wipes away. It's your windshield wiper.
That is heavy. No one ever distinguishes between true consciousness and false consciousness. So you brought up this word true a couple times. I would like you to tell me your reaction to Louis Buñuel's statement. I'm for anyone who seeks the truth, but I part ways when they claim they found it.
I agree with him. Anyone that claims to be the only way, seek me, my path, totally, don't follow him. That means you're on the wrong path. Because the real humility will recognize that this was a gift, whatever they're saying, and they are not the originator or the creator of it. I think that all religious leaders like those, especially the cults, they think that they're being guided for everyone, and then everyone must think exactly like them, whether it's, I don't want to name names, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would say one of the keys to joy, I know we're putting this puzzle together, right? One of the keys to joy is not thinking your path when you say it that everyone has to agree with you. Then you're cutting off the possibility, because out of the darkness, that's why some of them say out of the darkness arises the light.
Yeah.
Without you, and also that's why we have both light and dark within us on this human earth and the plane that we're on. To deny that, now in a real sense, we don't know. But I'm trying. The thing about me thinking of other lives or what happens when we leave this body, I'm working in this dimension to free and also to talk these questions to in where we are, you and I, on this video, on this movie, in this thing. But our whole life, there's a camera within consciousness, or consciousness is the camera that records this and everything going on every second simultaneously. Can we grasp the possibility that everything is being recorded by some invisible that didn't have to be made by a human? It's all here. We're just peeling layers off. Out comes a video camera. Out comes Stravinsky. Out comes Monet.
Dude, this is okay. So I wanted to say,
I'm a little mashuggy.
You know what we're say it again.
I said I could be a little mashuggy.
No, that's good, because I always tell people we're on live TV worldwide right
You're
now.
Right. You're right.
And it's amazing. You know, it's amazing because live TV in the 50s, you had to have a big clunky camera in a studio, and we're on live TV worldwide, and then it will go on forever. And so until someone pulls a plug on electricity and YouTube disappears. But
we all are a camera.
Yeah, that's that's Zygmunt Vertov, 1922 in Russia. We're the camera eye. And when that's McLuhan, everything we invent extends some humanness. But this thing that you talked about there goes back to the Louis Buñuel quote. And I wanted to just return there for a second, because 99% of people, when I say I'm for anyone who seeks the truth, but I part ways when they claim they found it, said, yes, I agree. And then one person challenged me and they said, no, that's bullshit. I'm not going to seek something unless I'm going to really be able to get it. And I says, okay, that's valid. And it gave me another perspective than having everyone say the same thing. You're just reiterating this. We have to be open to different perspectives and at least listen to them.
Oh, so, yeah, I listen. I agree with you. Yeah. But what I'm saying is for you to think that you can go as far as anyone, and if you don't try it, where no one has gone, someone's not going to hand you that door.
Yeah,
you got to find it. Each person probably has to find it, at least on this level, for themselves as best they can. And we all will maybe not find it, but we'll come close. But when we do find it, we may cease evolving, traveling through consciousness. We may be in it.
That's the song. If you don't have dreams, your dreams can't or won't come true. But the question I had for you was, the cliche goes, which is turned into an archetype, is that the journey is more important than the destination. Why do we have to name or seek a destination if the journey's more important?
I don't agree with either of them.
Good.
I think the most important part is you and I talking right now.
That's it.
That's where our life is meeting now, and that's what's important. What we do now.
That's it. Be here now. That's psychogeography. The flaneurs, the people who changed the world in arts, in poetry and literature in the 20s in Paris, that's what they did. They just sat around and drank coffee. They didn't do anything.
Yeah,
So
but also you can, if you let all of the you are doing something go, you can have a wonderful, incredible, fun life.
exactly. Fun is it.
Sure, I got heart conditions. Sure, I got that. But right now, I'm talking to you, and I'm really enjoying it.
Oh, I love it, Stevie. This is beautiful. What's faster, speed of light or speed of thought?
Speed of thought, but the speed of the stillness is the quickest.
Whoa, he trumps them all. No one ever gives me a third one, Stevie. That the speed of stillness is faster than the speed of thought. But my two choices, because I always say, most people say speed of light. And when they say speed of thought, I go, there's no right or wrong answers to any of these questions, but that one you got right. But you got it right and added another bonus to it, the speed of thought. Okay, so here's a poet, Audre Lorde. She said, you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. But Yvonne Rainer responded to her and said, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest?
I suggest, I don't know if it's a new tool, but I suggest don't be heavy. Allow the now to speak to you and open up into the now that you're in it now, and then let it go. But does anyone have to believe me? No. But if they find something for themselves, then let them share it. So I'm not claiming anything, but I'm claiming everything.
Dude, you sort of sound like Christian Murdy. He would say all these wise words and he'd go, don't listen to me.
No, sometimes I feel like that, but I do feel, this is what I feel. Now, I might agree with your disagreement. I mean, I feel that all that has happened that's possible for all beings is possible for you or me. I feel there is a grace. We all come, besides the joy, we come from the grace of the universe that allows creation, that allows songs, that allows poetry. And if we are a great artist, we're open up that channel. We still get part of the credit because we're where we are now on this level. Maybe there's some high in the sky, but I'd rather, if there's a starving baby and I can feed him in the now, not maybe 100 years from now, the meal will be cold.
That's good.
You got to feed them now with warm food, I think.
You have some beautiful lifeblood that flows into me. I just love this. So, what new toy do you suggest?
I think the toy, even with your computers, with whatever you're doing, your piece of paper, your art, don't be fearful. Just experience the best you can. If you want to create, don't measure yourself against Michelangelo or Da Vinci. Just whatever you feel, whatever you want. And I do think one thing is it is telling someone, and there'll be people that disagree, but I really think the path, the pure path is a nonviolence.
Yeah.
And I know there were other leaders that did, because I think by destroying, we're destroying part of ourselves. When we kill another, we're killing part of our being.
Totally. Yeah, no, we're going to get into that too. So, Stevie, what do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Well, I could worry about my teeth, or that I lost a tooth today, that I had a new one put in, or I could realize, let me try to be still and go into stillness or go into joy and see if I can not think about it, but can I find something in this present moment now that can get me through this? And sometimes my situation will reverse itself.
It's beautiful. So Marcia McLuhan learned from the poet Ezra Pound that artists are the antenna of the race. And by artists, we mean musicians, painters, poets, all these arts. That artists are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions so that we're able to cope with what we don't like about the inventions. So, Stevie, I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we humans ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
I would say the artist that thinks they're broadcasting maybe has an over exaggerated opinion of himself. because because
Yeah.
I said it in one of my poems you probably never saw. There is a poet in every person's heart waiting to burst forth. There is a composer, there's a painter, not necessarily with songs. Maybe they're a great chemist. Maybe they're a great that's their song. They all people don't always activate on it, but there's the potential. Like I said, there is a poet in every man's heart, every woman's heart, waiting to be expressed. There is something. And if you can get to that and trigger that off, you'll see the joy rise up. You'll see the frown turn into a smile. You'll see a converted life. Someone told me something the other day. I'm not going to say his name, but he had a very serious thing where he lost one of his limbs. And he was very depressed, didn't want to go on. And then he called me a few days later and said, I know the problem. I didn't surrender enough. And he was there's nothing changed in the situation, but he turned to joy and he started being happy in the same situation. And he started getting better, even physically. They saved the other. And I think that's a miraculous thing. That the power of that kind of surrender to a grace or something. Now, sometimes if you surrender to the wrong person and you get Rasputin or Bluebird or whatever, that could be disastrous. But to sense when do I turn it over?
Yeah. Do artists have moral obligation?
I think they do, but I don't think they don't always honor them. And the moral obligation to me is thou shalt not kill, and thou shalt not, lie. And we probably all do that sometime as a human. Probably.
On what occasion do you lie?
When have I lied?
Yeah, that's actually a Marcel Proust question. On what occasion do you lie? Yeah.
Sometime if I don't want to admit something that I didn't do to show my weakness, or maybe not tell a girl. Someone said, do you want to go out with her? And I go, oh no, I just like her as a friend. But really, you have the hots for her. That's a form of a lie.
Yeah.
And then you find years later that she really liked you and you could have been with her. I mean, those are sad things when you find it 20 years later. I've had that happen.
Well, that brings up, excuse me, Alice Walker, the writer, said, yes, mother, I can see you are flawed. You have not hidden it. That is your greatest gift to me.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Because out of our flaws comes the reality of the life. Out comes the good. Comes something that you can benefit humanity. Because we're all not perfect, like you said.
Yeah. Stephen, are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
I'm not afraid of either, but I think we even in music, I'm going to catch a lot for this. I think we too much preserve all the past artists, but the same consciousness that produced the Michelangelo is alive in the consciousness of the world, and we can create great works of art, great works of music. We shouldn't over worship the past artists. We could give them credit, say they're good, but I think we need to allow a past. I think we're really hard on the new, that it could be accepted. It's like, well, these kids are doing nothing. To just put them down before you know the soul of where they're coming from. They see through a lot of our hypocrisy. There's a guy, you know the name, but I'm not going to say the name, but he wrote a book called something like "Fuck Walt Whitman" or something like that. That he didn't want to acknowledge him because he thought that was producing the American myth that wasn't true. He blamed a lot of it on Whitman, or that consciousness that he's the savior, whereas their poet was all the minorities are squashed, whatever their poem was.
Well, I want to refer people to the video that John Longnecker did on you. It's link through your Wikipedia page because you cover a lot of the things that we could cover, but I don't want to reiterate them. So I wanted to skip to this question. You talk about your earliest memories so articulately in that video, and it's beautiful 30-minute video. And I would follow up with one about your earliest memory. Is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
I think, again, it's both. It could be, or it could be neither. But sometimes there's things that I did that I don't want to remember, but I do remember them.
Yeah.
When I went to New York to Harlem and a friend of mine got an abortion, I was 15 years old, and I experienced all that darkness at a very young age, and the fact that people could do that and there'd be a little embryo in the in someone's toilet. I mean, that's the harsh reality. People, everything is not always in this realm always beautiful. We have to address the darkness. We can't just pretend it doesn't exist and go home. Can you imagine the people like that worked in the concentration camps and then go home, have a nice dinner, love their family, think they're a normal, good person? They really did.
Yeah.
And how could we can reconcile those things?
Were you raised a particular religion?
I was raised different religions. I would say that I was one of the families was Jewish, so I had a bar mitzvah, and I went to Hebrew school, and I went to Sunday school sometime. And then when I was 14 or so, I went to a Catholic school. I wanted to become Catholic, and I converted to Catholicism and got a First Holy Communion and everything. Became a Catholic for a year or two. Went to a Catholic school, St. Paul's in Binghamton. But before that, when I was 6 years old, my mother became a born-again Christian. So even after Judaism, or before I embraced Judaism and had a bar mitzvah, I became a born-again Christian at 5 or 6 years old with the Holy Rollers downtown in Binghamton, and they were all singing on the carpets. And I remember that was fun. It was fun for a 6-year-old. And I would go to retreats with my mom, who was kind of real Christian, and then my aunt became. Then I left that. Then I became an agnostic after Catholicism. Then I became religion of the month club. I tried Scientology. I tried a lot of things. I got audited in Scientology. I experienced different things like that. And then I realized that there's no path, and everyone's claiming to be the path, and that I had to find, it was more work than this. There's no one else. Once you turn your life over to someone, I think you're lost. Unless you find your way back to you, you're not gonna, it's gonna have to be a tough life. And
Stevie, do you pray?
Yes.
If God exists, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
I would say, I feel this grace. I feel the presence. I don't need final resolution in that. I feel that it's okay, whatever it is. Do I really know? No, but I just trust whatever it is. And even if this is it, it's okay.
Yeah.
For me. I'm not saying
beautiful attitude. Do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
Well, probably both, but I do think some people are very difficult in this realm to turn around that are more dark. And I think all those images, and in this life, they may not be able to be turned around. Otherwise, I'd be not being realistic with what we see in the world. But you must, but they're both, you can see what they're saying.
Yep.
It's convenient to put it into a category as evil. Even if it doesn't exist, it's affecting the world and now. So whatever that is, it could be what you said, but I think that's irrelevant to what's going on. Right now, if you're starving and I give you the philosophy of what it is, and you said, but it might be better to give a piece of
It's really good what you said, because Stevie, one thing people generally say when I ask them that is everyone's capable of evil.
Well, probably, but what I'm saying is in a different emphasis. Yeah. I think instead of the other thing I'm learning, maybe you have or already are, and I haven't learned it all because once I learn not to just think of myself. I think it's okay to think it, but to think of others. So my view would be, instead of selfless sacrifice, would be one, good for others and for myself.
Yeah.
I think that's more my philosophy, if there is such a thing, that I would like to live by. I want you to have a good life, and I want to have a good life. I don't want to sacrifice everything I have to have you have a good life. I don't think that's realistic. There are people like that will do that, but it's not me.
Well, that sort of evokes Eden Abe's song Nature Boy when he says the greatest lesson you'll ever learn is to love and be loved in return.
That's what it's another version of that.
Yeah.
You're right. You know all these quotes. It's amazing.
Well, I'm lucky because I get to learn from people like you. So the real hidden question of the evil topic, though, is, Stevie, that how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up with a few modern thinkers. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurais, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you react to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
Well, there's an element of truth in that, is that when I could tell you the answer in Edwin Markham's remarkable American poet poem. Edwin Markham, it's called Outwitted. He drew a circle that shut me out, heretic, rebel, a thing to flout, but love and I had the wit to win. He drew a circle that took him in. That's the whole poem.
That's amazing. But tell me, suss out, what is wit? What's that? How do you suss out what is wit? Because it's like
wit would mean that you use intelligence with it. It means you draw the circle, you don't let him affect you like that. Like Watts had a part of it, but it's a combination of different. That's one part of it. You draw a circle, you don't let them in that, but you don't hate or you don't put negative energy toward that, how you did it. You attach freedom to that choice you made, and then look for other ways to enrich that. But you might not have to embrace them or take them out. You might not want to go to lunch with them. If they're trying to kill you, it might be too good.
Yeah, that's this thing about hating. Ram Dass says, I'm having a real hard time loving George Bush. It's like fill in the blank. I'm having a real hard time loving Trump or Putin or whoever you want to fill in there. But what does hating do? Are humans
if we hate, it poisons our own body, is what I think. And it goes
right, but is it in us innately to hate, or did we invent hate?
I think that's a defense mechanism because we haven't evolved enough to know that hatred can never solve anything, and so therefore it's a non-solution.
Yeah,
but we've not evolved to that level to automatically. At least I don't think we are yet. But we may have the capacities, because we only develop, since we use language, we're not developing those senses of listening like the animals do. And we probably are missing a lot by using language, although it makes it convenient in the modern world.
Yeah. And we invented cinema, like Kenneth Anger said, the day cinema was inventing was a dark day for mankind. But, D.W. Griffith, this is an amazing statement he made 100 years ago, approximately. He said in 2024, which is in 2 years, movies will end warfare. And it's like this guy created the first feature film in America, in the world, sort of, in America, Birth of a Nation, which is, a difficult film. But he's saying that cinema will cause an end to warfare. You're talking about, can we evolve to that point where we don't engage in hating? How do we evolve? Is it a valid aspiration? I mean, it's a valid aspiration, but do you really believe we can evolve? Because you use the word evolve. How do we evolve to not hating?
I think it's a gradual, all these things are not going to happen instantly, but I think first we have to be aware, stand at guard at your door and do not let anything into the stream and the fields around your consciousness that can destroy you. Be loving, but don't love the hatred, but don't engage. Once you engage, then you're opening yourself up to be sucked into that vortex. And if you're not strong enough, you will go down.
Yeah.
Evil is very powerful and very enticing.
Yeah. But Stevie, this is amazing because you told me the history of your religious and spirituality. How did you get that in your consciousness, the way your mother and dad raised you? Like, or is it in your DNA? Because
it's more
the way you talk about nonviolence, it's, to me, feels very sincere and rooted. I learned it from being raised Roman Catholic and reading the Berrigan brothers, Catholic priests who say, hey, warfare is not the, we don't have to rely on warfare. So you've been a peace activist, a consciousness of nonviolence. But
have you ever heard the album World of Peace with Brian and I?
No, I haven't heard it, but I will seek it out. But I'm just saying, what's the roots of you knowing that so early in your life? Because you said you started writing poems when you were like 6.
Because I knew when I cried, if my friends didn't like me, I knew I was seeking attention. That I knew that I should only seek the inner grace and not attention of other beings. But I somehow knew at a very young age, but I still did a lot. I did a lot of wrong things. I did things to stand out so I could get other people to pay attention to me. Maybe even I translated some of it into my recitations, but I realized the thing is, instead of selling it and doing it like people, these gurus, take my 20-day course, take my 20-day course and you would be liberated. What I said is, I think, and this is the one that people will disagree with me again, and they have. I don't think when you help someone to evolve as a being, you should charge.
Right. Well, I agree with that, but I'm saying
psychiatrists don't believe that.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I love that. But I'm saying you're 6 years old, you're starting to write poems about peace activism.
It was like out of the womb, I felt it was with me.
Yeah, I see.
I wish I could articulate it more, but
you are. But do you think the way your parents raised you from 0 to 6?
I understand the question. I think it was more my reaction to how I responded to the way I was treated, and I interpreted like I didn't seem to have the normal abandonment issues, but there was, like everyone says, there must have been trauma that I didn't detect. I fell on the piano at 10 months old. I got still the scar in the back of my head. These are things I didn't even tell you in that other video because I couldn't put everything in. I wanted to be members of both gangs, like you remember in the movie. So I got snowball stoned. That was my equivalent of being stoned. Could you imagine that visually in a kid's movie? Make it real, And there was a guy that thought he was a leader. He had these people in his gang go, "Hail Caesar!" I mean, that really was in Binghamton. That was crazy.
Yeah.
For
that Stevie, that evokes. Marcel Duchamp said, "There's no solution because there's no problem." So as soon as we invent the word trauma or problem, you're giving people a chance to go, well, I got one of those. But that's just life.
I understand that, but the reality that you and I are living, let's talk here, you and me. We're two guys, right?
Yeah.
You got to deal with it in this life or you'll go under. I don't know how you could stand up otherwise. If you think everyone's going to be good for you and just say, "Oh, I'll get over it," you got to sometimes stand up. Yeah. Stand up for what is right. Stand up for what is good. Even though I'm into nonviolence, if someone harms my family, I believe that we have to defend ourselves too. We've got to fight as strong for peace and inner stillness as we do for war.
Yeah.
That'd be the lesson you could give.
I like that. That was good. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin. He ran a movie theater and he checked out. He said, "This is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree. Years later, Faulkner said sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
Well, I think that these things can, the arts for me, I'll say things that are contradictory, of course, but I think the arts can open us up to be possibly, when you take away just the commercial motive, can open us to be more caring and better beings. And
Yeah.
P.F. Sloan and I wrote a song called Ginger Street. And one of the lines is, determined to make each day better than the one before, just around the corner on the other side of the world on Ginger Street. And it calls Ginger Street. But that means Ginger Street is like a heaven or a place that you can go to where you understand how these conflicts resolve. And they say most people die. One of those co-counseling, they say the reason people die, they have unresolved problems. That's what kills people. That's one their philosophy. I'm not saying I totally, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
You're carrying, and also when you carry all those emotional things, it's like the painters that do a bag of, they're carrying all their junk. It's 10 miles long, and that's why they slow their life down, because they're carrying all their baggage with them.
Yeah.
So our burden to get free in this is to unload the burden.
Unload.
Maybe everything.
Beautiful. Unload the burden. That's
what do you write down here?
I'm taking notes, but I'm saying that reminded me of Harry Parch. You know, he was writing music and changing the course of music. And then he said, forget it. And he burned all his music and became a hobo for 10 years. then Tom Waits and Captain Beefheart would be nothing without Harry Parch. But it is amazing. He unloaded the burden, literally. He burned it all.
I don't know if I told this before. You remind me. That was good. You told me that. When I was about 19 or something, when I came in here, I didn't have any money. I lived at the Hollywood Y, but then I hit rock bottom and I went downtown LA to public assistance. I got $12 a week. I collected 2 weeks, but all the winos would try to become friends with me in the line, and they want me to buy them wine or something. And I learned the streets, and had a calling, like I was ready to, this is true. I had to go out of school. I was ready to leave all the organized life. When I was at Syracuse University and got big positions, I dropped out of school and wanted to be a monk.
Yeah.
Master Eckhart or whoever I was reading. I mean, I was a nutcase in that way, but I was seeking some kind of genuineness.
Yeah. No, that's good. Yeah, that's also, Harry Smith, who he said music can change the world, and he, bootlegged all the Appalachian folk music and spawned and he spawned Bob Dylan and Joan Baez. He literally went to the Southwest, like Albuquerque, and got busted for being drunk so he could hang out in the jails with the American Indians who would teach him cat cradle games with the string.
Yeah, I know that.
That to me that's authentic. I'm not going to go learn it in a book or wherever. I'm going to go learn it from the guys who are in the drunk tank, because they know how to do it.
That's a good thing.
So a screenwriting teacher told me a great film or great art is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Kubrick says the opposite. Great film or great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process when you're writing a song?
I usually just let the song happen, but my overall intention is to do good if possible. But even if a negative line comes up, I will sometimes put it. I mean, my song on the homeless, I don't know if you ever heard it. In the misty fog of morning, you can hear her at your door. She picks the garbage in the gutter. She does nothing more. She wears a shawl upon her head and a sweater 40 years old. Her face is scarred and wrinkled. Her teeth are black and gold. She walks the streets to nowhere with all her broken dreams. She's hungry. She's homeless. Her silence screams. That's the first verse. But there's a picture, yeah. But I saw that lady with the no teeth, with the wrinkled up face, and I thought, what a beautiful. Do you remember that lady in the video with the cigarettes and stuff
Yeah.
and street?
Amazing.
Yeah,
That really brought tears to my eyes, and they were joyous tears because
the guy on the ground trying to get his whiskey bottle. They wanted to
Yep.
edit that. They wanted to be upbeat. I said, why
I know.
put a false story out there?
Yeah. I sit on my bike at the corner of Lincoln and Venice every day, and I'm waiting for the light to change. And there's a homeless person on the corner, and they have a smile, and everybody in the cars are tense and I goes, what's right with this picture? That person's smiling, and all these other people are frowning.
I go there a lot too. Dennis used to live around there for a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I know. Yeah. So Marcel Duchamp said that there's no art without an audience. How much do you think of your listener when you're writing your song, or your reader when you're writing your poem?
I usually don't. I just see what comes out, and I think built into me is that intent. I don't think I consciously do it anymore. Whether I ever did, I don't remember.
Then Stevie, Marshall McLuhan says that everything we invent extends some humanness or human sensorium, like knife and fork extend our teeth. The eyelid extends is extended by the shutter in a camera, let's say, or in a projector. And maybe things that are non-tangible, like religion or philosophy, are extensions of consciousness. What does the writing utensil extend for you? Whether you're writing a poem, pen, keyboard, what humanness is extended by your writing utensil?
I think the things I enjoy the most are speaking, even though I get a lot of typos into the computer, and creating that way. And second is handwriting.
Yeah.
Journals, handwriting. I love it because there's a living quality. Somehow in the computer, I'm not as tuned into that computer as I am to my own hand, even though it's undecipherable.
But what is being extended when you're handwriting? You're holding a pen. What humanness is being extended through the pen?
My blood, my energies, my being, my very being is alive, and the pen becomes a part of my body for that second, and it conveys it on the paper. So I am connected to that paper. I put part of my soul on that paper. It sounds crazy, but so you visualize that paper jumps up in the air or rises itself, and the words come off to you, and they just start flying in the air.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I've done that, but I'm just saying that.
No, that was good. Blood, energy, soul. You answered it beautifully, Stevie. Thank you. So what do you think the motive of the cave artist is? Not what the anthropologists say necessarily, or Herzog or whoever. Your hunch, what was the motive of the cave artist?
I think I'm more like a cave artist. I'm a painter too, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think that it's the cave art. It's, I don't know. Can you see some of the paintings behind me?
Well, I've seen your paint. People can go on your Facebook page. Yeah. There's a lot of your paintings, but I'm just saying, what do you think their motive was? I mean, it could be the same.
I don't know what theirs was, but I feel that the one thing about art for me, and I try to do it in writing, but I do it more in art, that I don't edit myself. I let the darkness, some of those characters, people have told me your paintings scare me. Some of them have done that. And I try to be open to what will come out and maybe edit later. Yeah. I try not to edit, even if it's wrong. I mean, you could ask me a question, I could give you a spontaneous flow, and I might not like all of it, but whatever's going to come out, I'll tell you.
That's good. And so what's more important, conviction or compromise?
I think they're both important, and know when to do each one.
Yeah.
And how to react to each one. That there's no one case that's the same as another. I wouldn't make a generality on that. I say sometimes the reason I say compromise may be the only way in the human world to get something done. And sometimes conviction can get you in a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
Try to balance those elements. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot. I love the word balance. It's, all my either or questions are stupid in the long run. Of course.
No, they're not stupid.
Well, I know, but I mean, they're not stupid, but of course it's both. But this one is actually got 3 elements, and there could be more. You've accomplished a lot. How do you rate these 3 elements in your accomplishments? Luck, skill, and ambition. What played the biggest role, second and third?
I would say, if I answer you now, I would say what played the biggest role for me is being inspired.
Yeah.
And being still, being inspired, and allowing whatever comes to come out of me. And it's like a gift from within, but from the gods. I used to feel, I never felt coming outside. It's always felt like somewhere in, and the Beach Boys were able to connect me to allow a little, like the first line of Little Bird to me was a direct answer to all of creation. And that the first line of Little Bird, I was sitting at Dennis's house. We were on 14,400 Sunset. We were up in a tree hut. And then I sat at the piano. I looked out the window. There was a little bird on the branch. And that still is the first line. And I came up with, and Dennis put that beautiful melody to it. And then Brian eventually wrote the bridge, but not that day. And Little Bird up in a tree looked down and sang a song to me of how it began. The trout in the shining brook gave a warm and loving look and told me not to worry about my life. So don't worry about your life, Jerry. Yeah. My thing is that if I could answer those 2 questions, and I haven't yet, if I could answer those 2, I would be able to help the whole world more, to help spread this if I understood what that is. And that's why I was like a Zen song, those early Dennis songs, A Time to Live in Dreams that I wrote with him. I like a lot of songs, but the way I did it, I wrote the words first and then he put the melody. But he had that beautiful melodies to go with these. But the little bird up in a tree, the Beach Boys, and Brian wrote the bridge a couple weeks later and never admitted it, but now he will admit it. But wanted to help us. That was in the 60s. The rainbows, the line, the earth opens up its arms for me. I actually felt that. Yeah. The earth opening up its arm, like caressing me. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, Stephen, that made a lot of sense, especially because the guy goes up to his guru once and says, "What's the most important question I can ask you?" And the guru says, "The one you just asked me." So to me, the questions are more important. It's just what follows is our discussion on them. It's not like you have to answer the question. So T.S. Eliot said that poetry is outing your inner dialogue. What language is your inner dialogue in?
Motion.
Silence? Say it again.
Motion in silence.
Oh, motion.
Motion in silence. No, I mean, even this, moving my hands will give me, like I can do this. I will get a melody and a poem. A melody and a poem. It'll come, like if I don't sit still, I might not. But when I start moving it, I know it sounds crazy. If I move it like that, that's why I think a lot of the people used to hands-on. Out of my hands comes, I'll just think of what I look at the screen. I see the image of you with the pen in your mouth. And I think, this is a beautiful second in the universe. And you're smiling. I can see your teeth. And I feel that's a warm, great feeling. And I love it. And I embrace it.
I love it. It reminds me of, I love that you had that pause and you moved your hand. And you helped me. You walked me through it and understood the motion of the hand. Because when I ride my bike in the morning and it's cool, especially these hot days, my mind is turning like the wheels. And the motion helps. There's something about walking, moving, motion that's so important. And people wouldn't generally think of that as the language inside your head,
Why do the Chinese and the Japanese, all that stuff is moving, shifting. All the words of the Beach Boys, it could be in this. You can feel the energy right now here, and I'm sure you can feel it.
I can feel it.
It's going out positive. It's just so powerful.
So two of my film gurus have this mantra. George Manupelli says, ignore yourself. Jonas Mekas says, there is no self-expression. And the great jazz pianist Cecil Taylor says, I'm just a vehicle and this comes through me. So is art making, songwriting, poetry making more self-expression, or more you're a vehicle for whatever technology, cultures, and environments are dominant?
In this world, it's all of it, what you said. But ideally, it would be just you sit here and it flows through your consciousness from the divine love. But the way it works out with all our problems and itchy-bitchy, whatever you call them, our flaws, both parts are true. But the ideal one would be being a vehicle, but also that's why my philosophy that I told you earlier, do it for yourself and for the others. That way you are a vehicle and you're helping and you're partly doing good, and let them receive it that way, partly them. And without them to listen, what would you have? Without people hearing my songs, why would you even want to interview me?
Yeah, I like that a lot, what you just said, self and others. Can art making be egoless?
Probably not totally on this realm. And the people that tell you they're doing it, I'd watch out for them, man. Hide your wallet.
Was Freud right?
About some things.
Good. You're a good listener and a great talker. I loved it both. Is perception reality?
No, not often. Sometimes you can perceive it, but perception is the way your consciousness evolved to this point to perceive what's going on in your experience.
Why is it so difficult for humans to consider the possibility that life may be pointless?
I think it's hard to realize that. But the point is, even if it's pointless, that doesn't negate joy and the experience. That's the beauty of this. It doesn't have to have a functioning purpose or place. It could be just for the now that we get joy. Does it matter we're going to a place like heaven? It's kind of boring, doesn't it sound it? let's get into the notes now while we're alive on this planet. You know, to be honest with you, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I don't care. I want to live now and help people now. And whatever will happen, I have to allow it to happen. I don't want to say I'll go to this place. Would you want to be eternally like in some kind of like whatever it is? I don't think you would.
No, it's good because the joke goes, the guy gets to hell and the devil's standing there at the gates of hell. And the guy looks in, he goes, you have Zoom with Wi-Fi in hell? And the devil goes, that's all we got. So my friend, you know, I love that you cross over, Stevie, to poetry and painting and music, songwriting. And my friend, it implies to all these, says the three tenets or parts, elements of music are taste, theory, and technique. Theory, you can figure out which chords you're playing and know the structure. Technique, you know how to play the guitar. But taste, how does one acquire taste, whether it's in painting or poetry or music?
I would say the most important thing of art, as in our world, is the soul, the qualities of the soul, the compassion, the feeling, the caring, and the mind all working together like blending chords into a central processing brain, heart together. That is what it is from me.
Right. And McLuhan says an interesting thing about music in general, and this is what he says, a song is slowed down speech. The reason cultures have different musical taste is ultimately connected to language differences. Any comment?
part of that is true, but the other part is what wish more. I think there's a lot of composers that talk about it, but I think that for music, the first thing is to listen.
Yeah.
And let the music, well, like Ode to Joy, when he wrote that, can you imagine the joy he felt within?
Yeah.
Beauty. I mean, when you know those kind of feelings, it may make you feel otherworldly, but it may be a way for you to, art can help you live in this world better, not
Yep.
just for future generations. Art is for now.
Totally.
And I'm sad, and maybe I hear a concert that helps me. Now, maybe the bad music that we think is bad, maybe it's serving a purpose for those wounded people to express their feelings. Maybe they release some of it through that. I don't know all the answers, but I am open. That's why I want to be better every day. And I also, it's hard, but if you could look at your own flaws honestly, and mine, and whatever, I think we would have a different kind of a world, and
Yeah.
not kind of mask everything or cover everything up. But you're right about that. Once you've developed the word trauma, then everyone's got one. Once you develop this, or once you create that language, you might be creating a problem that never would have existed. You're right about that from my viewpoint.
Yeah. I appreciate it. Stephen, Moshe Feldenkrais works with healing and movement. He says it's literally possible to identify a weakness and incorporate it to become a strength rather than we're usually taught to overcome a weakness. Tell
Yeah.
me a weakness you turned into a strength.
Hurt feelings, when I feel rejected or hurt, what I've learned to do, I felt them a lot, I still do some, is to convert that in my process of however, to feel it, to acknowledge it that I do feel it, and to let it go, and to convert it into something, you know, positive, and try and be forgiving. Do I always follow it? No. But the fact, I will always bring myself back that I don't know anything. I don't know the real ultimate meaning or anything. So I want to keep it like the joy. I want to keep as much of that and the grace alive. So I think one artist told me from Argentina, Ecuador. I did the music center downtown Los Angeles. They picked one poet, and I did it in English. She did it in Spanish. She was a performance artist, Alexia Miranda, and she's wonderful. But she said to me one thing she learned when she was young. She said, the best thing about art and life is one of the most important things is play, like
Yep.
we're playing now. This
Yep.
is a key to joy.
Yep.
You want to have a playful, you know how the chimps play, and you don't on a real heavy consciousness all the time, like thinking you're the deep philosopher, the deep that you might be, but keep the play, have fun, make games, do rhymes, sing songs, whatever you might do to pull out this junk.
Yeah, that's play is the most important thing.
Like that smile, you make me smile with my heart. My funny, like what a line.
Right.
I mean, those are just beautiful things.
Yeah, playground is what it's all about, and that's why you play music. You don't work music, you play. So this is a line that I'd like you to just tell me your feelings about. It goes like this, and I'll set it up a little. It goes, you create what you resist. And I'm not saying you, but one creates what one resists. In fact, Bob Goldthwait, the comedian, morphed it into you are what you hate. James Joyce said, it's a curious thing how your mind is super saturated with the religion in which you say you disbelieve. And Louis Buñuel nailed it. He said, thank God I'm an atheist. So this philosophy, you create what you resist. One creates what one resists. Any thoughts on that?
One creates what one resists. What I would say is that, and this is what, unless you embrace your own darkness, PF and I wrote a song called Embrace the Darkness. Unless you embrace the darkness, you cannot have any music or joy. So you might resist or that you are like that, but you may be like that, and maybe that's the problem you need. And sometimes through that you can get healed.
Yeah, that's
Embrace
interesting.
your weakness, embrace your darkness, embrace where you're seeing it, because probably a part of that's within you, and you're not always acknowledging it. Once you acknowledge it, you get open a door, and this and it flies and dissolves into nothingness.
Yeah, Utah Phillips, a great folk singer, said anarchy is making rules for yourself and not other people. Who's entitled to make the rules?
I don't think I think we have to get workable things that work, like don't harm anybody. We have to come up with generals, and then how do we enforce it in our society or practice it? I think
Yeah.
that's part of the issue. Um, yeah, I don't think any human really knows all the answers. That's why it's important to change office, not have people unlimited like dictators. We need new ideas. We need to be challenged. We need to not have people like say you and I become all famous on this show or whatever. We don't want worshipers. We want people to think for. Well, I don't agree with what they're saying.
Yeah.
I totally disagree with them. I want to. I think that's important to leave that open.
Totally. I agree. And so, this question's about competition and punishment. It covers a couple topics, but I'll set it up. Nassim Taleb says an amazing thing about games. He says games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, you don't know who really won or lost, but you can tell who a hero is and who is not a hero. Do you think we're hardwired for competition? And why do we have this in our lives?
I think healthy competition in sports like that, is okay. I think, but to just compete like like they say, get the killer instinct as a football player. I don't go along with that.
Yeah.
But does it take that to win? Maybe, but I think that that's too great a price.
Yeah. I asked someone that a couple months ago, and they brought up this thing when I said, does punishment work? And they said, well, villains don't think they are bad. They want control. Heroes want freedom.
Possibly, there's truth in that, but there's different sides to it. There's all kinds of heroes and villains. There's
Yeah,
villains with a lot of good in them. There's heroes with a lot of bad in them.
really well put. Now, do you think punishment works?
In some cases, it helps, but I don't think it can transform the person, but they might think twice. But I think anytime you punish someone for what they naturally do, it's going to come out again. They'll kill someone, they'll do something. It's in them. I don't think punishment will stop them usually. But then again, I could be wrong sometime too.
Yeah.
Some people are, but I don't think it's a general rule. You should trust that they will.
I asked my friend who wrote comedy with Robin Williams, I said, can satire be destructive? He said, that's the job of satire. Now, we know if you create a cartoon in a certain country and they don't like it and kill you, some people think dying is destructive. But Jonathan Swift compared satire to a mirror in which people could see every face but their own. What's the function of satire?
I think it can expose the weaknesses and the shortcomings in a society. I think there could be a lot of truth in satire. And if you go where you're destroying a person or like that, I think that's too far.
Yeah. What's the most significant difference between women and men, physical aside?
From my experience in life, I would say I found sympathetic on both sides. I don't know. I think society wants to tell you the women are more advanced intuitively, and they may be in our society, and other societies want the men. But the truth is that probably a lot of it's conditioning. because some women are that way. But when the woman wants to become the man, I don't think that's necessarily healthy. I don't mean operations. I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But if she wants to control in some areas, I don't see anything wrong with that. But to compete like the man, I'm not sure about that. I don't know. That's
Yeah, see,
that's where the humility would come in.
that's what I love. People being willing in these interviews to say, I don't know. That's great. That's fine. You don't have to feel obliged that everything because, this line is a funny theory. It's a theory, and I'm not saying I agree or disagree with it, but the word mafia starts with the letters MA because women run the world, but they let men think they run the world.
Makes sense.
I said that once, and a woman said, "Shh, don't tell anybody."
I found out that from my experience in relationships like that, if you talk a woman out of what she really wants to do, eventually she'll do it.
Yeah.
In my experience. And you can ruin relationships with that. You've got to not try to be, if you're too controlling, it's not love. You know that. If you're too possessive, it's not love. It's something else. Yeah. It may be good. It may be fun. But if you need that for your relationships, then you're fucked up.
Yep.
I think.
Well put. What caused matriarchy?
You mean when the women run it?
Yeah.
Because they said men are doing a bad job. We want a shot at it. There was societies, as you know, where the men were sit home and the women went out and worked, polyandry, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
Remember those? Yeah. And some of them were.
Yeah, it's matriarchy took over patriarchy.
Yeah.
I saw the group War. They played their 50th anniversary concert in Venice, free. And there was a lot of Hispanic, middle-aged and older women who knew every word.
Yeah.
And they would have their cell phone in one hand and their hand up in the air, chanting every word to every War song. And the husband sitting on the lawn chair next to them. And Lonnie, who wrote some of the War songs, he was a social engineer at the top of his, just perfect. And he goes, he knew all these women were singing every word. And he goes, okay, ladies, sing like you're yelling at your husband. And they were, why can't we be friends?
And you know something? The women are what keep a lot of families together, basically.
Yes.
The husband cheats, goes off. A lot of times, those aren't just stereotypes. A lot of it happens. And women had to fight for themselves. And I think women have been abused myself.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, Stevie, here's 5 Alan Watts questions just off the top of your head in a couple words. Number 1, who started it all?
Who started it all? I don't actually know who started it all, but what I feel is the question is, we're in it. What can we do now to know how to live in it?
Good. The second question is, are we going to make it?
I hope we do, but I don't know for sure. I hope we will.
Third, where do we put it?
I don't know.
Fourth, who's cleaning it up?
Individually, there's no overall seer cleaning. We have to clean up. We can't have liberation without individuals doing it.
Is it serious?
It's light, joyous, and serious. It's all in the same.
Beautiful. We got about 10 more minutes, Stevie. This has been so fun. I really appreciate your time. How do you find peace of mind?
Again, I go to be quiet. I don't need surrounded by all kind of music. I go quiet. I go for a walk. I swing my arms. I do that, something like, like this. I'm doing the thing again. I do things like that. I feel the energy. I let it go through me. I try and do some stretches. And I just try to become it's like almost I want to become one with that flower I saw. I want to become one. And I'm looking at the art behind you, whatever you got on your wall. I want to experience. Can you imagine? Because I can't even feel these speakers that we're talking on. what's inside them? What do they feel when I'm talking? What is the vibration? Today I was at the doc. I got my tooth put in, and there's a painting on the wall, a beautiful painting, but it's a window. And I said to my doctor, she looked like I'm nuts. And I said, those people, are they looking out at us as we're sitting here in the dental chair? It's just a painting through the window. I'm asking her. I don't think anyone did that in a dental visit before. I'm saying, what do you think they think of what we're doing now? Or you hustling me with the money and all this and getting the teeth? She was laughing.
Hey, the laugh was made it important because everything's living on earth. And that was you. See, I feel that art is no longer the artist once they make it. It's the user. McLuhan updated medium as a massage to the user is the content. So
Well,
you were the user of the art and you can do whatever you want with it. And you said, hey,
the art is what people give to it, a lot of it.
Yeah, that's it. That's what
and
they
also
give.
the music that we think is popular, maybe just more people like that music.
Exactly.
You're right about that.
If you were walking down the street today and you met yourself as a 12-year-old, what would you say to your 12-year-old self?
Be very careful and slow down.
Yeah.
But have fun.
Well, you've had fun in your life, right?
I've had fun. I've had sadness.
Yeah.
When my baby sister died when I was 15, I was very sad. I remember walking the graveyard in Binghamton.
Yeah.
Those kind of moments. I remember joyous moments.
Well, how do you deal with sadness? Do you have any ways that you've relied on, or is it always ever evolving? Or
it's always evolving, but a key component, again, I know I keep repeating like I'm sorry, but is me being still and listening, trying to listen to what the life is telling me. What did I do anything to contribute to this situation that made it wrong, and could I do something? Because no one else is going to solve my inner problem. No outside force or doctor. I have to solve it within myself to make it work.
Ruth Draper did performance art way back, and she said the key is to bring the audience up onto the stage and into the scene with you. It is they who must give you even more than you give them in the way of imagination and creative power. How do you accomplish that? How does one accomplish that?
What I find is when I have a good feeling with my audience and I give from my heart, that most of the time they give me more than I give them.
Yeah.
That's to listen. They get it. But if I try to rush it on them or push it like a philosophy, it doesn't work.
Yeah. Well, that's, again, a couple of the music greats. Miles Davis talks about the space between notes. How do you navigate that? People think, well, music's made up of notes, but how do you navigate the space between the notes?
Well, what I said in the beginning before the sound was a stillness in a song or in a composition, it's that they're both there, the stillness and the beat and the rest. But in between each note, you have a real minute silence. So the sound sits upon a bed of silence. The silence doesn't sit on a bed of sound.
Right. But, there's a very interesting music writer, Ben Ratliff. And I'd love to read this little passage to you and get your feelings. He says, I mean sound as it has long functioned among jazz players, as a mystical term of art, as in every musician finally needs a sound, a full and sensible embodiment of their artistic personality, such that it can be heard at best in a single note. So we know, like he gives the example, Miles Davis. He says it's fragile and pointed. Coleman Hawkins, it's mellow and generous. John Coltrane, slightly undercooked and urgent. If a music writer or a poet writer was saying something about Stevie's sound, what two words would you appreciate that he got that was like the full and sensible embodiment of your artistic personality?
You know what? I can't answer it because what I feel is joy without any words when that happens to me. I can't.
It's like it's nonverbal. You mean you can't put it into words?
Yes. It's not.
Yeah,
Yeah. And I can't put it into words.
yeah,
If I did, I'd be using my intellect instead of what my real answer is. It's not.
right.
Yeah.
Which way should toilet paper come off the roll, over or under?
Under.
Why?
It's easier.
If a publisher was to release your autobiography off the top of your head, what would the title be?
Who knew?
They want to scent the glue in the binding. What smell would it be?
Lilacs.
Oh, I love that. If a statue was built in your honor, where would you want it displayed and what would it be made of?
I would not want a statue.
Tell me something good you never had, but you never want. So it's good, you never had it, but you never want it.
There's things I thought I wanted that I don't want, but I realize now that I didn't.
Can you name one?
Yeah. Adoration, fame, glory.
Yep. Amazing. Stevie, you know the answer I get the most on that question? Fame, money, and heroin.
Interesting. You're dealing with a certain bunch there.
Well, this is it's such a variety of people and professions. It's funny that those come up.
Can I ask you one question before you do your rap?
Of course.
Tell me about you. You're not used to that. I really want to. How did you know me? How did?
Right. Well, why don't we? I just got 3 more questions. We'll wrap it up, and then we'll go on. I'll tell you a little about me, because then
After?
Okay. Yeah, let's just do these last 3. Or no, there's 4 more. They're pretty whatever. And that's a good question, and I'll give you a wrap up. If you were in a vat of vomit up to your neck and someone threw a bag of shit at your face, what would you do?
I have no idea.
It's a good answer. What's the cultural shift you see developing today that inspires you?
I think that some of the young people I'm encouraged because I think they're really wanting to seek truth out and not just being famous and all that stuff.
Yeah. I see it too. So Thornton Wilder, the great playwright, said, art is confession. Art is the secret told. But art is not only the desire to tell one's secret, it's the desire to tell it and hide it at the same time. You've laid your cards on the table for over 90 minutes. I'm not insinuating you haven't answered this. What's it really all about for you?
What it's all about for me is if I could leave something that would live after me that might be helpful to people.
Yeah.
And maybe to me before I go.
It's beautiful. That's, I think, the aspiration of humans is how do we make the world a better place and move forward?
That would include what my answer.
Yeah. So what gives you the most optimism?
That someone like me from upstate New York could have such a magnificent, incredible, even though full of pain at times, life, that it was possible to be born that little tiny baby screaming out, remembering some of it, to have all kind of accidents before I was 3, falling off a cliff, falling in a pond, drinking poison. My mother took me to emergency. They tell me I was falling into my cake on my first birthday. And to have all that and to still have such a great life.
Yeah. It's beautiful. Well, Stevie, this has been a true joy, and I learned so much and enlightened. But most of all, I had fun with you. We had fun.
Yeah,
Like
you're great.
I want to give you a high five.
High five.
But I will answer your question. In I'll send you a PDF of my book because the first chapter sort of talks about why I interview people. But I'm just a curious person, and I've dabbled in the arts.
You're one of the most interesting interviewers I've had, to be honest with
Well,
you.
thank you. I appreciate that. But I think who exactly connected us was Jez Graham. The
I love Jez Graham.
Jez is, and I interviewed him because one of his chums, Don Rollins, is a drummer in San Francisco, and we met through the Zappa hotline. I worked for Frank Zappa for 10 years, and I talked to a lot of great people and met him. So over the years, I've had a lot of friends, and he recently reconnected, and he says, "Oh, you should meet my friend Jez." So Jez talked, we did the interview, and when I end the interviews, I'll send an email and says, if you have anyone you could suggest that I could interview, let me know. And when he sent me you as a suggestion, I said, I know this guy, I met him, and I think we spoke at Beyond Baroque at some art opening or poetry event there, because I think you've been to Beyond Baroque in Venice, the poetry
Many times. I know Essay and
yeah,
yeah.
I interviewed Essay like 15, 20 years ago. And
Kubernick.
so
I know Kubernick.
I've been trying to interview Harvey Kubernick for 20 years. So if you can help that happen.
Does he know you?
Oh yeah, we know each other. He usually says he's too busy and he's got a deadline, but just you can give him a word and say, do it. And he's probably interested. It's just getting the timing. The thing is once Zoom started 2 years ago, I could really interview a lot of people because
And where do you put them up?
they're on. It's as soon as we end this in a few minutes, it's on YouTube forever. But pre this, I had to lug a cassette player and all the tech. The tech is so much easier now. But I produced events at Beyond Baroque for the last 10 years. So
Wow.
I think we talked in the lobby, and I probably said, hey, I'd like to interview you. And then, it was a question of arranging it. It's just becomes
May Pang.
Who's that?
May Pang, John Lennon's girlfriend.
Oh, do you know her?
Well, she interviewed me. I don't really know her, but she interviewed me.
You're saying I should interview her?
I don't know if you like her, if you want. I don't know.
No, it's not usually a question of me liking or disliking the person. It is if they're willing to sit and talk for 90 minutes. It's not a big deal. They don't have to be famous.
Some people, yeah. That's what I like about it. Anyways, it was really fun.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Stevie. Really, I really appreciate
it. You're a gracious being, and I appreciate it.
You are indeed a gracious being too, coming right back at you. And I'll send you the link right away. And then let's stay in touch. And even though I'll hit the end broadcast button, I hope this never ends and we can talk forever and ever.
Lots of love. God bless.
Thank you.
Bye, buddy.
Bye.